imagine before they got to the roof, they prayed because they saw this crowd. And you know how we get. We see a crowd of folk, we're going to turn around and leave. But they knew that that boy needed Jesus. So my spiritual imagination tells me, Pastor, they started praying. Because you have to understand prayer is the key. And faith, I got any Bible readers in here, would unlock the door. So I can imagine these men prayed not for themselves, but prayed for their brothers. And it wasn't time for them to get let me be careful. One time for them to get all long-winded with their prayers. That boy was in need. One time for them to be praying, Lord, Isaac, Jacob, the father of Isaac and Jacob. There wasn't time for that. That boy needed a healing. One time for Lord, well, I'm so glad you ain't let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. That boy needed a healing. It wasn't time for all that. You got to understand that when you need the Lord, you can go to him in a normal conversation and just say, Lord, I need you. Lord, my friend needs you. And I'm a living witness that if you try it, he'll work every time. You don't believe me? Reminded of a story of a grandfather. He was babysitting while he was living with his granddaughter. His granddaughter, she had a little baby, a little newborn. Newborn was playing in the playpen. Baby kept crying and crying and crying. So the grandfather would reach down there, pick the baby up, hold the baby, rock the baby, make the baby stop crying. The granddaughter came in there and said, Granddaddy, put my baby back in the playpen. Granddaddy said, but he keep crying. She said, he'll learn, just put him back in the playpen. Granddaddy said, well, your mama said I gotta put you back in. So he put him back in the playpen. Baby started crying again. Kept on crying. Granddaddy reached down again and picked him up. Granddaughter came back in, same thing. Put him back in there, Granddaddy. You're spoiling him. Granddaddy put him back in. Baby started crying again. So Granddaddy looked at the baby while standing in the playpen, and he was a little puzzled. He said, man, you keep crying, but your mama said I couldn't pick you up no more. You keep on crying, which tells me you need something. But your mama said that I couldn't pick you up no more. This is how Jesus works. He said, I see you crying, but I can't pick you up right now. Because your mama said, I'm going to spoil you. Granddaddy said, but listen, I can't pick you up. But your mama didn't say I couldn't get in that thing with you. She didn't say that I couldn't get in there and go with you through your trial. She didn't say I couldn't get in there and cry with you. And that's how the Lord is. We'll cry and cry and cry. But God said, listen, I may not come when you want me to, but I'm always on time. I may not come right when you cry, but guess what? I'm going to walk through that thing right along with you. There are too many men walking around broken, walking around crippled, walking around angry, walking around depressed, walking around repressed, walking around ready at any moment to blow a fuse. At any moment to give up on life. But my brothers and my sisters, I want to encourage you that you don't have to mope around any longer. Your days of drinking tears for water is just about over. Because God is faithful. Have I got a witness? And you don't have to worry anymore. Because he's faithful, you don't have to live in depression anymore. Because he's faithful, you don't have to throw in the towel. You don't have to give up on life. because Grandma said, take all of your burdens to the Lord and leave them there. Have I got a witness? Is there anybody in here ever tried the Lord? Ever been brokenhearted, but you tried the Lord? Back been up against the wall, but you tried the Lord? I'm a living witness that the Lord can use men that care, men that's crippled, men that's paralyzed. And when the Lord, when it steps in, he steps in to change your life. He steps in to restore you. He'll revive you. He'll wipe those tears from your eyes. He'll put a smile on your face and put joy in your heart. I don't know how he does it. I don't know why he does it, but I'm glad that he does. And Lord, if God can't do it, then nobody can. If he can't fix it, then nobody can. I know the Lord, he will fix it every time. Well, Reverend, how do you know that he'll fix it? Listen, let me take you to the Bible. The Bible, in the Bible, we had a murderous man like Moses. So if he can use murderous men like Moses, I'm a living witness, he can use you. If he can use drunk men like Noah, I know he can use you. If he can use adulterous men like David, I know he can use you. But better, I want to get personal. If he can use a boy like me that's done messed up time and time again, I'm a living witness that he can use you too. Anybody ever tried the Lord? Anybody ever been used by God? Your back been up against a wall, didn't really know how you were going to fix it, didn't know how it was going to work out. But I heard a songwriter say, somebody prayed for me and had me on their mind, took the time to pray for me. I know it's Men's Day, so my daddy, he prayed for me. The deacons, they prayed for me. The preacher, they prayed for me. Anybody ever had somebody that prayed for you? Aren't you glad that somebody prayed for you? Where would you be? Where would you be if nobody ever cared for you? Let me hear you say it. Let me hear you say it. I know this is what I get happy about. When I look at the text, I get real happy because I see a paralyzed man that still got a blessing from the Lord. I see a paralyzed, crippled man that still got a blessing from the Lord. There's situations in life that leaves us crippled. There's situations in life that leaves us paralyzed. But I'm so glad, I said I'm so glad that God, he can use me in my situation. No matter how low you are, brothers, I want to encourage you that God, he can use men even when you're crippled. Let me hear you say yes. Say yes. Come on, y'all. Say yes. Say yes. Anybody ever tried the Lord? Anybody ever tried the Lord? Won't it work it out? Won't it fix it? Won't it come through every time? Yes. Listen, y'all. Listen, y'all. Listen, y'all come on with me real quick. We got jury duty today. Listen, we're going to take a trip to the courtroom, and in this courtroom, there's a prosecuting attorney. In this courtroom, I've got my attorney. In this courtroom, there's a judge. In this courtroom, y'all the jury, and I'm on trial. The prosecuting attorney takes the stand, which is Jesus. Which is the devil. The devil takes the stand as the prosecuting attorney. And he said, listen, Kenneth, he's been bad. He's been a bad boy. He lied sometimes. He cheated sometimes. He did things he should not have done. He deserves to go to hell. Send him to hell, Mr. Judge. So now that he's had his time to give his account, my attorney takes the stand. My attorney said, listen, everything he said was right. Kenneth's been bad. That was right. He's done stuff he should not have done. That was right. He been some places he should not have been. That was right. But Mr. Judge, if you give me a few seconds, I got some evidence that I want to present to the jury. The judge said, listen, go right ahead and present your evidence. He held up a bag. He said, I got some blood as my evidence. The judge said, what are you talking about? He said, this is the blood that I shed on Calvary for his sins. This is the blood that I shed on Calvary for the mistakes he was going to make. The judge said, that ain't good enough. That ain't good enough. He said, do you got more evidence? My attorney, he stuck out his hand. He said, you see these holes in my hand? Those from nails that I took for his sin. You see these holes in my hand? That was from the nails that I took for him. He said, I heard him call on me, and so one Friday I died. One Friday I stayed in the grave all night. Friday I stayed in the grave all night. Saturday, he said, but something began happening on that Sunday morning. I heard him calling my name. I heard him calling on me, and I got uneasy. I got uneasy in the grave. My attorney said, I rose so that he can be forgiven. I died so that his sins would be forgiven. Early one Sunday morning, my Jesus, Dr. Jesus, my Jesus, lawyer Jesus, he got up. He got up with all power in his hand. Anybody glad? I said, is anybody glad? Anybody glad that you got a doctor in the sick room, a lawyer in a courtroom? I forgot to tell y'all who the judge was. I forgot to tell y'all who this judge was. This judge was my attorney's daddy. And everybody knows that a father never goes against his son. Have I got a witness? Have I got a witness? Anybody glad? Anybody glad? Say yeah. Say yeah. Yeah.